Oh, you know
These
what?
2 pages on the,
Victor, I just wanna make sure that he got it, cause I emailed it.
so it goes on the screen, just like everything else we do.
We just gotta slide it, well, not, yeah, whenever we're ready, we'll let you know,
Yeah,
or Teresa will let
he
you
didn't
know.
get that one, but he got the rest of them.
Okay.
I put the hand lotion on, now I can't open it. Will you
Oh.
open it?
I was like, what do you want me to do with your pen?
How many, I do that like almost every time.
Okay.
I forget to do that.
Ready?
Yeah.
Good evening and welcome to Lorain County Board of Commissioners. It's Tuesday, June sixth, 2023, 4:30. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Commissioner Moore,
Here.
Commissioner Rydell,
Here.
Commissioner Hung.
Here,
We have a quorum. Today, we have a public hearing, which is the second public hearing on CDBG CHIP Program Year 23. Drake Hopewell, Ian Berry, and Lauren Falcone.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Commissioners, and thank you for hosting this important meeting for the block grant program and also for the CHIP program that you guys are so kind to operate for the citizens of Lorain County. The program, what we want to do today is have a combined public hearing for both the CHIP and also the block grant program, CHIP, Community Housing Impact Program, and also, which deals specifically with the housing repairs and renovations program that we've operated, and then secondly, the Community Development Block Grant Program. What we'd like to do is, Ms. Lauren Falcone, one of the principals from Kleinfelder, is here. She's going to go over the CHIP program, and then secondly, what we like to do then is go over the block grant program secondly, and then entertain any questions that may come from either you or the public.
Hello again. Good to see you guys. Thanks for having us. I just wanted to go over the activities that'll be part of the block grant application. The first one is private owner rehab, and that's in the amount of $928,000. And it will be to assist 13 owner-occupied houses on an average of $71,385 per unit, and that will also include allowable project soft costs. Lorain and the city of North Ridgeville will be providing $91,004 of home housing program income, which we call PI, for this activity for a total of $1,019,004, and this may result in one additional unit. The program income funds will be used within the respective service areas, funds to provide full rehab services to bring the houses up to current state residential rehabilitation standards, or RRS. This will include appropriate lead-based paint assessment, controls, and abatement as needed. If necessary, recipients of the private owner rehab funds may be assisted with optional relocation due to the lead-based paint work. Relocation funds may be used for nominal lodging, meals, and transportation costs, and assistance will be in the form of a 5-year, 100% forgivable loan. The county and its partnering cities, which would be Amherst, North Ridgeville, Oberlin, and Sheffield Lake, are combining their available home housing program income, which we refer to as PI, as required by the state, and to ensure sufficient funds for rehab projects to meet current state RRS and requires, ODOD, the state requires use of the housing PI before drawing the CHIP home funds. However, they will permit 1,000 CHIP home funds per unit to be drawn and combined with housing program income until the PI is expended. So that's one activity, private owner rehab. The second one would be home repair, and we're putting in $480,000 for that to assist 22 owner-occupied houses at an average of $21,818 per unit, which includes allowable project soft costs. And this would be to address health or safety concerns in the house, for example, plumbing, electrical, heating, roofing, and accessibility. And assistance will be in the form of grants, no repayment required. As far as the PY 2023 proposed CHIP summary then, we have private owner rehab for $928,000. That'll be 13 units at $71,385 apiece. And then the county and city program income, Lorain County Home PI, that'll be $75,014.27. And then the city of North Ridgeville Home PI will be $15,990.40. So the home repair budget then will be $480,000, and that'll be 22 units at $21,818 apiece. Then we also have administration and fair housing as a part of this grant application. It'll be $192,000, and that's 12% of the $1.6 million ask. So the total proposed grant is $1.6 million, with the 91,004 to be at $1.6 million, $91,004, sorry about that. So you guys are expected to pass a resolution for submission of this CHIP application on or shortly after Tuesday, June 13th. And then it's actually due to the State of Ohio Office of Community Development by Wednesday, June 21st, 2023. So I don't know if you have any questions about that. I have some more information for you about the income limits and the timeframes. Sure,
Yeah, just to be clear for those that may want to tune in,
sure.
could you explain the difference between private owner rehabilitation and home repair? Why are those two separate line items?
That is a good question. I don't know, I might pass that one to Drake or Ian. I know they're separate line items, and home repair does include health and safety concerns, whereas private rehab is more lead-based.
Well, specifically, very good question, Commissioner. Specifically, the private owner rehab is going to be a project where there's multiple items that will be done at that particular address. So it might very well be, say, a roof, electrical, and plumbing being done there. By comparison, and those projects typically are much larger in both dollar and scope for those projects to be completed. By comparison, a home repair project is typically one item, so we would go, the inspector would go and look, and if he said, hey, the roof needed to be replaced, he would write up the specifications for the roof to be replaced, and then that's what would get bid out, and then we would, when we bring it to you, it's a much smaller project, and it's just addressing that one item. Because sometimes we don't always have the dollars in the budget or the need at certain houses to do as much. So where we do just the singular repair projects, they're smaller. We also do not set those up as repayment. Those are actually treated as a grant from the very start. We're able to get even that many more of those smaller projects done.
Now, who, are you going to be responsible for getting this on the agenda for the 13th?
Yes, actually, we've already
It's on
prepared
already?
that.
Okay, good.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Great, yeah, so smaller would be home repair, larger would be private owner. 21,000 for the home repair, 21,818, and then an average of 71,385 for the private owner rehab. Any other questions? Okay, I can give you the income limits. For median family income is 85,400, and then low income, very low income would be 50% of that, and low income would be 80%. And then we have it ranked by 1 person up to 8 persons. So that's how we'll go ahead and make sure these people are eligible to receive the funding. As far as timeframes, obviously I mentioned the application is due on June 21st. The state, ODOT, or Office of Community Development, will review the applications between June and November of 2023. We should have awards by December 1st. And then January through March of 2024, we would complete the environmental review record, which is required for all federal funded projects. No portion of the project can go forward until after that environmental review is released. The expected release would be between March and April of 2024. And then January through December of 2024 would be advertising for the CHIP process applications and projects. And then January through December 1, 2025, we continue processing the projects until the funds run out. I can tell you in some of the surrounding communities, we've had really great luck in doing the project in 1 year. So getting enough applicants in to actually spend the money in a year. So I'm assuming that's going to happen here too, because it is a very well sought after program. February 28th of 26, all construction must be completed. So we have until February 28th of 2026 to complete it. We have until March 31st of 2026 to draw down the funds. And then by April 30th, 2026, we would have to do a final reporting to the state of Ohio, and the grant would have to be completed. Just a couple other things. All grantees must complete their program according to the following deadlines. All activities must be completed by the end of the 26th month following the grant agreement date, which would be that April date. And then all All drawdown requests must be submitted by the end of the 27th month, and all funds must be completed and expended in accordance with this timeline established by program milestones. So again, the state's going to tell us when we have to hit these milestones, and of course, we'll help the county hit those, and we don't anticipate any issues. It's a pretty great program to run and to utilize.
Do we have that for Victor to put up on the screen?
Which she just went over? Yes, Victor.
Pardon? Oh, okay. And the income
That's
guidelines are on
page
the
one.
second page.
Yeah, page 2. There we go.
Maybe those that want to take a look at what the qualifications
Yep.
are, if their reading is usually better than their hearing, so.
Got it. That's a good idea. Very good idea. And they can always call the office here too, and either
Right.
Kleinfeld or the county planning and community development.
So we have no homes qualified yet. This is just the beginning process.
We're just
and
making the
then-
application, correct?
Because when
Yeah.
you say average 21,000, that's 22 homes. You're like, it could be 30 homes, right? Okay.
If the dollar amounts ends up being less, the dollar amounts per project end up being less, then we actually probably will see an additional project or two.
And,
that we can
and
do.
your team's the one that's scoring these projects, so they qualify, or is that how you do it? Or is it first come, first serve?
We actually it's first come, first serve on the repair projects. And then there's besides the application intake process for the larger rehabilitation, they also go through a scoring.
Okay.
And our office will process the applications.
So, and I think it's important to also note at this point, when talking to staff this afternoon, that these projects, once approved, still need to go through the bidding process. And, so that the taxpayer dollars are spent responsibly and efficiently.
Correct.
So that's the reason now that we're applying for this grant, but this money won't be spent for 2 years, because there's a process that we have to go through. Hopefully, if somebody's got a leaky roof, it won't get too bad in 2 years.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
That's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And now Ian and I will go over the Community Development Block Grant Program. Ian's going to go over the basic in the background, and then I'll go over the specific project that we're proposing for this next 2-year cycle.
Good afternoon, Commissioners.
Good afternoon.
So CDBG, or Community Development Block Grant, or
Do we have
Community
Victor put
Development.
this one up?
I don't know if Victor got this because they just handed this one to me.
So just hand it to us.
Yeah,
Well, that's what this is.
that's with that spreadsheet. You want the spreadsheet up? Okay.
Is this what you guys are talking about?
Yes.
Okay. Well, okay, go ahead.
Take it down or?
That's fine.
We thought that you would want to just hear about
Yeah.
some of the background on the block grant program and how we arrived and what the key
I don't know if Victor can
parameters
split
are.
screen this. Can you split screen that so we can see
I don't know
Drake's?
if they could do that one. I could,
Probably can't. Okay, then.
because it's off this. I mean, I could take it down till they.
Yeah, take it
start
down.
speaking.
Yeah, until they're done. Okay. Sorry, guys.
No worries. So CDBG, or Community Development Block Grant, or Community Development Program, works on a 2-year cycle similar to CHIP. But the grant specifically is working with municipalities, nonprofits to either provide public services or complete construction projects. So you're looking at things that are looking to benefit low to moderate income individuals, addressing slum and blighted areas, or a limited clientele. Those are one of the 3 criteria that must be met by any of the projects. Each submission that we received from this last cycle had to meet at least one of those criteria. So some of them were ruled out based on that. Other ones we kind of looked at more closely, depending on how they met those criteria and what the benefit would be, plus the dollar amount that we'd receive. So Lorain County is eligible for $570,000 in total for Community Development Block Grant. In each community, or each applicant sent in a certain amount of local match that they were looking to use as well, so we were able to kind of push the $570,000 a little further. each of the, like I said, each of the national objectives that we were looking to do. 9 of the projects that we received showed us, hey, we sent out a funding application, these are the things that you need to hit. And I was gonna say for the sheet that you saw before, had each of the submissions, and we kind of based it on that, how we were gonna go about determining eligibility and where they were eligible and what types of project we were looking to use. I was gonna say, Rick, if you wanted to.
Of the 9 projects that were submitted, we are asking for your consideration of the following programs. The Senior Center Improvement Project, which is at Sheffield Lake at the Joyce Hanks Community Center. That's a roof replacement. The national objective that they're meeting is limited clientele. And we're looking at requesting $222,337 for that project. The second category is low mod income area street improvements. We had 2 communities. Sheffield Township is looking to replace McKinley Avenue, a partial street replacement there. North Ridgeville is looking to replace Lorain Drive, Carolyn Drive, and Monica Drive. These are all low mod income area benefit streets in low mod income areas. Total amount that we would be requesting for these streets would be $150,000 of the 570 amount. And then the third area is public service, Neighborhood Alliance to conduct the Meals on Wheels program. That would be for $85,500. And that would be, again, limited clientele. And it would serve, the Meals on Wheels program serves the entire county, but specifically the Meals on Wheels program is limited to areas outside of the city of Lorain and the city of Elyria with the funds that we would commit to the program for Lorain County through our county block grant program. And then last but not least, fair housing, $18,000 to implement the county's fair housing program, which is a requirement. If we receive the funds, the state of Ohio requires that we do the fair housing program. And then last but not least, the administration costs $96,000 to administer the block grant program. That also helps with the administration oversight of the CHIP program as well. And these are the projects that we would be offering up and asking you to consider and hopefully pass as part of a resolution, which is due, I think, the 13th is when the 13th is when the resolution would come before you based on your schedule. And it would be, hopefully it passes, and then we have to get it submitted the very next day, the 14th. And if there's any questions, again, I'm willing to.
Yes, you've got $96,000 set aside for administration through your department for salaries and staff and so forth. Could you explain the difference, the other $85,500 that's for public service?
Yeah. So the public service, that 85.5 you're looking at is for the Meals on Wheels program. That's 15% of the total allocation that we would potentially receive. That's the maximum amount that we could give for Neighborhood Alliance to implement that Meals on Wheels program. Currently, they are one of 2 entities. Neighborhood Alliance and the Lorain County Office on Aging is helping to administer that program, and they were able to leverage more funds to be able to implement that program. It's much larger amount than that 85.5, but that allows both of those entities to perform that same service within our service area, which is Lorain County outside of Elyria and Lorain.
And that's public service. That 85.5 is public service, where the admin is a separate category entirely.
Right, well, so in other words, to support other public projects.
Right.
Is what the public service is.
Right, yes.
And in reviewing this, I think that the general, I think in general, the public looks at the block grant program as more hard costs and infrastructure costs. And while the Neighborhood Alliance does a great job working on the Meals on Wheels with that, I think that there's probably a sizable need for more infrastructure type projects than we can possibly fund, and I think there's other resources we should probably, I wouldn't change this application given the timeline we have, but I think going down the road, we should have a conversation with Neighborhood Alliance and look at other more appropriate funding streams so that we still have money for these types of gross projects.
I hear you. Yeah, and as indicated, I think earlier when we talked about it, is that the public service segment is definitely something that the state of Ohio looks at funding and does traditionally fund. It's not just always the infrastructure projects, but largely, as you've said, largely the infrastructure projects are what you see a lot of community development block grant dollars used for. But it's also used for parks. It's also used for subsurface improvement projects. So it's not just roads, it's not just water lines, it's also sewers, and they do a lot of different things.
As I said, it just would be a conversation because fixing a street and Meals on Wheels doesn't sound like,
The two go together.
doesn't sound like two sides of the same coin. So I think we should take a more global look at that and see if there isn't a better way to fund Meals on Wheels other than a grant, because that goes on forever and ever. You fix a street once, but Meals on Wheels is every day forever.
Right.
And I think we should try and find more consistent funding to the mission and then turn around and use that 85.5 could be used to help improve infrastructure in another community.
We definitely can talk about it and see if there's other areas where we could find additional sources of funding.
And for the public, I inquired of these two folks this afternoon, and these grants are available to everybody in Lorain County outside of Lorain and Elyria.
Right.
So they're available not just to the cities mentioned, but the villages and townships as well.
That is correct. Lorain and Elyria are what's known as entitlement communities. They receive their funding directly through the Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD. And they do very similar programs and projects as what we're doing with their funding. But they can't spend their money outside of the city limits of their respective cities, and we are duty-bound to also spend our dollars serving the small cities and townships and villages in Lorain County that don't receive their funding directly. The idea is we are to try to assist those small communities as best we can. Sometimes, as we talked about here, sometimes some of the projects being proposed do not meet the eligibility guidelines. And so even though they might submit a project, it doesn't really qualify for the block grant program. And unfortunately, we have those situations that arise. But what we do try to do is try to figure out if there's additional funding that we can maybe identify through the department, through discussions with you guys, the commissioners, to see whether or not there's other funding we might be able to bring to the table, state, federal, or local.
So for those listening in today, the invitation is, this is just the application for the grant process. There's time to get to your local elected officials and make them aware and to submit projects for consideration. We still have quite a bit of time.
No, this is for next year, right?
Yes.
Well, there'll be this is a 2-year program.
Right.
Correct.
And so what we'll do is we'll get notification of the application. Well, first of all, the application gets submitted June 13th? 14th. June 14th. That's when it gets submitted. They'll review and give us a notice that we've been funded or not. Hopefully, we will be funded by the end of the third quarter, beginning of the fourth quarter of 2023. The actual implementation of the program will occur through January 1st, 2024 through December 31st, 2025. That's the 2-year cycle, and that's when we will actually complete the projects that we've requested.
I want to clarify, Mr. President, thank you, that this is an ongoing project, and while this round has been applied for, that these kind of projects and funding streams are available in the future to other communities.
Right.
To get their head in the game.
Yes, in approximately 18 months, this whole process will start again.
And in the application process, so they say basically 15% is the maximum you can use for public service?
Yes, yes.
And is Neighborhood Alliance the only one that applied?
Yes, we had reached out and talked to the Office on Aging again, and they decided that they were not going to apply this time directly.
And fair housing, that's just automatic 3%?
That is correct.
Okay, and then what do we get, 17% then for administrative costs?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't have any other questions, if anyone else.
Okay.
As
Well, thank
always,
you.
a fantastic job from both of you.
Well, thank you. We appreciate it, and if there's any other questions that come up, we're more than happy to.
And this will be on our agenda on the 13th also?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
I just need a motion to close the hearing.
Make a motion to close the hearing.
Second?
Discussion? Commissioner Moore?
Aye.
Commissioner Rydell?
Aye.
Commissioner Hung?
Yes.
Is there any other business?
No other business.
What other? Clerk's report, Monday, June 12th at 4:30. You guys will have a viewing of the Kellner Ditch, which is a pre-recorded drone video. Tuesday, June 13th at 5 o'clock will be a commissioners meeting, and then Friday, June 16th at 9:30 will be a commissioners meeting.
Okay, move to adjourn. Or do I just say adjourned? We're adjourned. Okay.
There's nothing further than your adjourned, right?
Thanks.
Commissioners, are you two okay with the budget that I sent you from Tom's Country Place? Can we put that on the agenda for Tuesday?
Yeah. And requisitions. Yeah.
Well, I had you both here, I just thought I'd ask.
What date is that again?
The 15th. But I sent the proposal from Tom's to two of you.
Yeah, I saw it.
That's
And
Wednesday,
if you guys are okay with that, then.
Thursday. That's a Thursday, the
Yeah,
15th.
we need to put it on the agenda.
But
See you guys.
we need to process it on the 13th.
Just, requisition.
Yeah, not a resolution, but a requisition.
Requisition,
Yeah.
yeah.
Because I think it's important.